Hi guys, I'm Jess and welcome to the Riverdale Review. Today we're going to take an in-depth look at Chapter 24, The Wrestler, another jam-packed episode of the hit TV series Riverdale. So it looks like Mrs. Blossom, in order to raise a little more money for her and Cheryl to keep them going in the custom that they're used to, is sleeping with half of the men in Riverdale. Now, being a show that is aired earlier in the night rather than later, they're very careful to skirt the words sex worker. But that is very much what it appears that Mrs. Blossom is up to. A little moment that sort of gives a hint at what I think we're going to be seeing this season. The very end of this episode, you see Cheryl's mom approaching Hal, of course, Betty's dad, and, saying, "Look, you look lonely. Let me be that shoulder to cry on." This was pretty much my reaction when I realized what she might be up to. No! So I think the wheels are in motion there for a little bit of an affair. Ow. So in this episode, we see that Chick is fully integrated into living at Hal and Alice's house. He's sleeping in Polly's room, and Hal is none too pleased about it. This led me to think that maybe Hal isn't Chick's father. So we know that Alice and Hal got pregnant very, very young when they were still in high school and decided to give Chick up for adoption. But the way that Hal is so suspicious of what Chick is up to, and I must admit rightly so, because we all know that he is up to no good, it makes me think that perhaps there's something more to this story that we don't yet know. My gut is telling me that Hal is not actually Chick's paternal father. Going to be interesting to keep an eye on. So it looks like Chick is offering scandalous services via his webpage and services done over a webcam, and also in person, which leads me to go back on a comment that I made last week. So I commented that it was very unusual that he would say "come in" when Betty and Alice knocked on the door, versus going to the door, seeing who it is, and then, deciding whether or not to invite them in. Which of course has now been revealed that the owner of the motel that he was staying in kind of works as a pimp. He books these clients for people staying in the motel. So again, something that, I caught as being a very odd source of behavior has obviously now been revealed as to why he was so willing to let them into his room, because he thought they were clients, which is awkward. So very early on in this episode, Archie arrives home and finds the mayor, Sheriff Keller, the lodgers, his dad, all in a meeting. Now, also in attendance is Veronica. Now, we as the viewers know that Veronica is assisting her parents in this whole manipulation scheme. Archie says hi. Hiram kind of brushes him off, and then to make matters worse, he goes to kiss Veronica and she kind of brushes him off, claiming that he's too sweaty to kiss him. Fair enough. Each to their own. Veronica is very put together. Maybe she doesn't want to kiss a sweaty man. All I know is if I was dating Archie Andrews, I would kiss him no matter how sweaty he was. Which is kind of gross. So Archie goes to Veronica and says, "Your dad doesn't like me. How can I turn this around?" And Veronica suggests that he try out for the wrestling team, because Hiram was part of the very first Riverdale wrestling team and was the star pupil and star athlete, and what better way to win somebody's attention than doing something that they love. So Archie forgoes basketball and begins to do tryouts of wrestling. He's not great, but let's be real, he's only doing it to win over Hiram, who very conveniently is at the tryouts. So Archie goes head to head with Kevin and just keeps losing. Kevin just throws him down and throws him down and throws him down, and Hiram kind of shakes his head and walks away. Cut towards the end of the episode, and Archie is paired against Chuck. Now, it's revealed sort of mid-episode that Chuck and Archie are in two different classes because of their weight. But Archie manages to aggravate Hiram so much throughout this episode that he kind of works his inner contacts and has Chuck and Archie pair up against each other. naturally you think Archie's done for. Chuck is a big guy. He's got all that aggression from everything that we've seen through the last 2 seasons. But the underdog wins. Archie absolutely annihilates Chuck, and Hiram's kind of sitting there being like, wow, he's proved himself, but I still don't like him dating my daughter. Nevertheless, at the end of the episode, Hiram calls Archie into his office and kind of offers him an apprenticeship. Hiram plans to kind of mold Archie into this perfect human being that is able to date his daughter and help with everything scandalous that Lodge Industries is up to. And Archie makes a really interesting comment when Hiram asks him where he's going to be in 5 years.
Where do you see yourself in 5 years?
College. Hopefully on some type of athletic scholarship.
To study music?
No, that was the old me. Now I'm thinking more like business.
I immediately was like, what? Archie Andrews, give up music. But then very conveniently, Archie's phone rings. Now he doesn't answer the call, but we do see a scene where it's actually the FBI agent touching base. So I don't know whether that comment about him going into business is purely to win over Hiram, or if we're about to see a real shift and Archie's about to give up music for the sake of his love for Veronica and the approval from her father. Jughead is still out for revenge in this episode. He is pushing full steam ahead to make sure that the Serpents remain a tight-knit unity. He speaks to Tony's grandfather in this episode for an oral presentation and discovers that the Blossoms were involved in the genocide, really, of the original Serpents and of Tony's grandfather's friends and family. So that doesn't sit right with Jughead. He writes a very detailed, very aggressive paper that Betty then publishes. So Tony is furious as a result of Jughead publishing this article. Jughead goes and apologizes to Tony's grandfather, who says that an old wound has been opened and there's only one way to heal it. Towards the end of the episode, you see Tony, her grandfather, and Jughead, and the remainder of the Serpents rise up, and whilst the town is celebrating this festival, they kind of work their way through the crowds and say that it's unacceptable that a day like this is celebrated when it meant the mass murderings of hundreds and hundreds of people. Hiram, of course, is quick to jump up there on the microphone to say that, he will do whatever it takes to make this right. And Jughead goes to say something, and Tony's grandfather kind of holds him back. So the end of this episode sees the mayor, Sheriff Keller, Hiram, and Hermione Lodge staring at a desecrated statue.
Well, Hiram, Hermione, it's your show now. How would you like this handled?
Swiftly. And with extreme prejudice. I believe we all know who the most likely suspects are. You tell me, isn't this something the Serpents would do?
So this, of course, starts in motion what I think we're going to see for the rest of the season. Again, this rivalry between Riverdale and the Southside Serpents. It's going to be very interesting to see who wins. So thanks again for joining me on this week's Riverdale review. Don't forget to like this video and leave your feedback and comments in the section below, and don't forget to hit subscribe.